Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes, and welcome to I Was Right Yet Again. I know I hate to say I told you so, but increasingly, and anything to do with the S&P, I told you so. This time I told you so over the Glen Rosa. Back in May, they backdated the date at which it would be setting sail by 9 months to about January or February 2026. Well, that isn't going to happen. The secretive Scottish Government has now been slated again after hushing up even more delays to the Glen Rosa. Now, the Glen Sannox was 7 years late and half a billion over budget, and the Glen Rosa is now going to be 8 years late and half a billion over budget at minimum. Now, the latest timeline announced was it was supposed to go into the water in January or February next year, possibly. They've now said that they're going to be updating Holyrood in January or February next year. Not launching, updating with later delays. Well, it seems that the Scottish Government themselves have been blocking attempts by Ferguson Marine themselves to update MSPs any earlier than May the 13th next year. This is absolutely terrible. I mean, when the government are actually blocking the company charged with building these ships from talking because the delays are so abhorrent, and we all know why the delays, it's because of all the micromanagement that's gone on from day one. Not allowed to just build a ship. Oh no, the S&P have got to stick their nose in at every single decision because, they're in control of everything. And this is what happens when you get incompetence in control. Now, the original price for this ship was 97 million. It's now 460 million. Yeah, and it's 8 years late. In fact, in terms of total cost, with the 8 years loss of revenue, with the other ships being forced into action, with even more delays, it's going to end up, when you take the total price increase, by over $500 million on one ship. And the S&P want you to trust them to run a country. It's absolutely incredible, isn't it? Now, in order to serve CalMac's Arran route, it can't because it won't fit into the port. So now they're going to have to spend billions redesigning the port. It's unbelievably bad. And this is on top of all the problems they've had with the Sannox. Now, what they're not telling you, and what they're unlikely to ever tell you, and why they keep kicking this down the road, is the fact, and it is a genuine fact, that the Glen Rosa is unlikely ever to sail. In order to get the Glen Sannox onto the water, they had to cannibalise a lot of the Glen Rosa. And there's so many parts of the Glen Rosa now that are so old already, before it's even gone into the water, that they'll need replacing. And that includes big parts of the engines. 2 engines. One, the big gas turbine that the S&P insisted was a green option, which then turned out to be not the good option. So they put in a secondary engine, diesel, which is the wrong size for a ship of that size, which means it's an inefficient engine, which actually now means it's actually less green than if they'd just put in the proper diesel engine they wanted to put in the first place. But then that's the S&P for you. Well, the trouble is, with this big gas turbine engine in place, now needing to be majorly repaired before it goes in the water, and they've built around it, they're going to take half the ship apart in order to get into the engine. It's genius, isn't it? It's almost as though you've deliberately picked the worst thing to do at every stage of development. And they have. And it isn't going to be ready. It probably, as I say, will never take to the water, except maybe to be towed to a scrapyard and decommissioned. That's probably going to be its only voyage. Its voyage to the knacker's yard. Unfortunately, the S&P will probably still be in charge because there's too many idiots in Scotland that will look at this and go, oh, well, it could have happened to anyone. And the answer is no. No, it couldn't have happened to anyone. It could only happen to the S&P because they cannot allow anyone to make decisions. And so they make all the decisions, and everything and every decision they make is always the wrong decision, without fail. You cannot point to anything that the S&P have done and said, that's a success, unless you want to say, the S&P planned to destroy Scotland, in which case you can say, that's a success. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks a lot. Bye.